That's right. I'm finally back to this channel after almost a year. I'm finally posting about a Broncos game. Oops, that was my water bottle, sorry. But yep, after almost a year now, I'm finally back to posting. And the reason I stopped posting on these is because because after I posted that the video on that Saints game last year, we had a couple of really frustrating losses that I didn't feel like talking about, and then I just kept not coming back. I kept planning to post here. Like, I was planning to do posts for the draft and free agency and everything, but I never got around to it. But I'm finally back now because I am super stoked that we just beat the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles 17, sorry. I'm like, my brain is kind of fuzzy because I was kind of having a mini heart attack during that last Eagles drive because they got some fluke bullshit, including a defensive pass interference on J.L. Skinner, which that incompletion would have ended the game right then and there because it was on a 4th down, but of course they had to give the Eagles more life. But thankfully they did not score. I was really worried they were going to score on that last, on the last play from the 29-yard line, so yeah. But let's talk about this game for a bit, because this was an ugly as fuck game for a long time. And hell, and if you're not a Broncos fan, or an Eagles fan for that matter, this entire game was ugly. Because it was a 10-3 match at halftime, I think. It might have been 17-3 at halftime. And one thing I want to say, the biggest thing I want to say, is I think Riley Moss needs to be cut. Riley Moss is fucking terrible. And last year, I had especially late in the season, I was giving the excuse that he was still recovering from that injury. But he doesn't have that excuse anymore, and he's not fast enough to keep up with guys like Devontae Smith. Smith torched him all fucking game. And I'm not going to say move Surtain over there, because I'm assuming I can't watch this game because my antenna does not work. I need to get a new one, so I wasn't able to watch it, but I tracked the entire thing through the ESPN app. But I'm assuming they had Surtain on A.J. Brown at all times. A.J. Brown barely made an appearance in this game. I don't even know if he had 2 catches in this game. I could be wrong. But yeah, so he was barely here, but Devontae Smith just torched Moss all game long. And then what about Jaquan McMillan? Well, we had him on Dallas Goedert. Which it makes sense because Goddard's been their leading receiver for the entire season, even though he's a flippin' tight end. But I honestly would have rather put Moss on him because Goddard's big and he's got great hands, but he ain't fast. And don't get me wrong, I really like Dallas Goedert, but again, he's not a speedster. I think we needed to have Jaquan McMillan or Jahdae Barron on Devontae Smith instead of Riley Moss. And I think Moss, at least after this season, needs to be cut. And another thing that's interesting about this game is that we kept Saquon Barkley in check. Now, I say that knowing he had 7 carries the entire game, but in that he only had about 30 yards. Which is interesting because J.K. Dobbins had another great game. He had about 79 yards. And if we didn't have to throw the ball so much later in the game, he probably would have had another 100-yard game. Because he was actually, every once in a while, he broke off a big, 10, 15-yard run at least, once a quarter. So that was a big part of our win. Bo Nix was starting out really shitty. Really bad. But he picked it up in the second half with a decent enough completion percentage and had a touchdown. No interception. He didn't throw any stupid interceptions like he did against the Bengals last week. God, that interception was so bad. I know it was 4th down and it was kind of desperate, but you're right next to the goal line. It's 4th and 2. I would have rather him on that play have run the ball and not made it than throw it right at a fucking defender. Because that was what happened. He threw it right at him. It wasn't even a great play by the defender. It went right to him. But he cleaned it up today, especially in the second half. There were no turnovers. He threw a couple touchdowns. We went for a really risky 2-point conversion after that second touchdown, which, by the way, was an Evan Engram touchdown, his first of the year. It's rare to see Engram do fucking anything, but on that second touchdown drive, he not only had an 11-yard catch for a first down, but he also had about another 11 or so yard touchdown to give us the lead in a 2-point conversion throw to Troy Franklin. Franklin is frustrating because he'll have plays that go for a lot of yards. Like, he was our leading receiver for the first half with like 2 catches of like 25 yards. He had a 20-yard catch in the first quarter. But he has major problems with drops. He reminds me a lot of Jerry Jeudy. He's fast, he's a good deep ball threat, but he has trouble consistently catching the football. And I do not want another Jerry Jeudy on this team. I want someone who can catch the ball, which is what Sutton does, as he had literally just under 100 yards. He had 99 on the game. So, yeah, he's still doing all. Our defense actually showed up today. Again, other than Riley Moss, who kept getting burned, our defense showed up, especially in the second half. And Benito getting another 2.5 sacks, especially a clutch one on that final drive. I think Benito needs to start getting talked about for Defensive Player of the Year, and it might be coming from bias, but I really don't care. I'm honestly shocked he wasn't a finalist last year. I know everybody talked about, like, oh, Myles Garrett obviously should get it, but it was like pretty much everybody agreed that if it didn't go to Surtain last year, that it was basically should be renamed Edge Rusher of the Year. Speaking of Surtain, what is up with all the defensive pass interference calls he's getting? I don't know if it's just the refs trying to pick on him or something. I know, and I don't want to go into that conspiracy because Sauce Gardner just went on a whole tangent last week about, oh, I'm getting picked on because I'm a Jet. Everybody else gets away with so much. Shut the fuck up. Surtain is getting called for. No, there were a couple last week that he got that were total BS. So I wouldn't be shocked if the one he got early in the game was BS as well. But he's getting a lot of those. And our team in general is kind of undisciplined. We got a lot of penalties in these games. I think we had probably over 100 penalty yards this game. So, yeah, that's not good. But overall, again, we played well in the second. I wish we could play 2 halves of. Here's the funny thing. The Eagles played well in the first half, and we played like crap in the first half. Well, honestly, we didn't even play like crap. We just kept shooting ourselves in the foot in the first half. We played all right. I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, you know what? All things considered, we're not playing that bad. When it was a 3rd and 17, and then Riley Moss got burned for like 51 yards. And then that went out the window. But again, then our team picked it up in the second half. We started looking like a competent football team again. It's like we will play like garbage against a team like the Titans in week 1, but then we'll go toe-to-toe with the Eagles and win. And I know the Eagles aren't quite as dominant as they were last year because they lost a couple of key defensive pieces. But still, when you're playing the reigning Super Bowl champions, and we've kind of looked mediocre for this season so far, it's a miracle that we won it all. So, yeah. Sorry, my throat is dry after that game. So, let's look to next week. Next week, we have the Jets in Ireland. I think it's a Dublin game. I don't think it's England. I think it's in Ireland. I swear to God, if we lose that game, I'm going to break something. Because we just beat the freaking Eagles. And the Jets are they're a contender for the worst team in the league. They'd be down there with teams like the Titans and probably the Giants, even though they had that win last week against the Chargers. They just got beat handily by the Saints. So the Jets are probably the 2nd worst team in the league, just above the Titans. So, or hell, maybe the Dolphins. They just lost to the goddamn Panthers. Well, the Jets lost to the Dolphins pretty handily, so yeah. They're probably the 2nd worst team in the league, other than the Titans. So, we better crush them next week. Like, I swear to God, if we lose to that team, I don't know. I don't even want to think about that. But we should win next week. Because that's the thing about this team is that we beat up on bad teams. Like, we beat up the Bengals last week because they were just dead without Joe Burrow, which has been the case ever since they drafted him. Like, it's kind of like the Colts when they had Peyton Manning. It's like, if they don't have Peyton Manning, they're garbage. And that was shown in 2011 when they didn't have him right before they cut him and drafted Luck. It's the same thing with the Bengals. If they don't have, even though they have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson, they have some good players. But if they don't have Burrow, they're screwed, which I find absolutely hilarious. But I'm glad we won this. This is definitely a big win for the Broncos, and it shows that we can compete with the best, because the Eagles are one of the best teams in the league, even though a lot of their wins have been extremely lucky this year, especially against that game against the Buccaneers and the game against the Rams, which both of those games I think they should have lost. But this is definitely a big win. This shows that we are a playoff team. I know Peyton was talking about, we're a Super Bowl contender this year. Debatable. I don't know if I would quite say that, as because we have and not because we don't have the talent for it, but it's because we have a talent of choking in really stupid situations like we did against the Colts and the Chargers. And that was kind of the case last year against the Bills in the playoffs. We held them, we were with them for the first half, and let's miss that field goal right before half, and then everything fell apart. So, yeah, that's all I got for this. I'm so happy we won this game. Leave your thoughts about this game in the comments, and I will see you all next time. Bye. And I promise next time will be soon.